Y'all need to watch that show Evil on CBS. Because the bad guy, so like the good guys are Catholics, but they're like it's an interracial group of mystery solving assessors, they call them, for the Catholic Church. It is funny that they're Catholic, but the bad guy is this white stodgy academic guy with glasses, and he like grooms a mass shooter by telling him he's got to be a man and he hates women and women are bad. He tells him this is your red pill moment. He tells him to go on 4chan, and it's like,
I wonder who's that writing room is voting for.
That's right. And then I mentioned this in the Culture War. It was really funny. The episode I'm watching, because there's 4 seasons of it. On season 3, one of the main characters is a woman. She has 4 kids, and she's telling her daughters, like, basically saying, "Don't lie to me." So she's like, "I'm going to write down the 10 commandments of the family, and commandment number 1 is thou shalt not lie to mom." And then one girl goes, "Can we lie to other people?" And she goes, "No." And then one girl goes, "But what if it's like we're hiding Jews with Hitler or immigrants with Trump?" And then she's like, "Those are good points, but we'll talk about that later." And I'm like, comparing hiding immigrants like Trump is like Hitler to the Jews. That's what they did on CBS.
I just saw this clip from that medical show, New Amsterdam.
I saw that too.
Yes, where the guy
hell was
is like,
that?
"I've been talking to your son. Where else?" And mom is like so confused, and he's like, he's feeling all this pressure and nothing or whatever. Your son's cancer was caused by racism.
By internalized racism.
Wait, what?
I'm not even kidding. I will send you the link. It's the most ridiculous thing. And they presented this like, this is a serious,
that's like
sitcom medical show.
the Acolyte star who put out her little diss track on Instagram was talking about how she wasn't going to let herself be one of the people that gets sick from being oppressed. It's like, how are you have Disney's salary, you were in the Hunger Games, you make all this money.
Ma'am, I do not think
sick
you
from
are
being
oppressed.
oppressed and from being an oppressor.
Yeah.
Both of them give you cancer.
And she's out there like doing her little dance and stuff, looking like Ice Spice.
Oh, well, I'm glad that she's so oppressed that she can do that with her audience
Right?
and her extra time.
And she's able to dance around the streets of New York, and nothing bad happened to her for the whole time she was shooting the video.
Classic oppressed woman.
Somebody disabled couldn't do that.
Yeah,
well, this is the thing about the
It was ableist,
oppressed.
Carter. I think you're
I
correct.
believe it was.
People to the privileged, everything looks like oppression. If you are on top of the mountain, you can only go down.
But
if
it's
you are at the North
supposed to.
Pole, it is all south from there.
But that was the point. That was the point of critical race theory, and that was the point of woke. The entire point was to demand that everyone wear racism-colored glasses so that you see racism and oppression every single place that you look. And that's all that they see.
Wealthy American liberals with moderate to high incomes in big cities complaining that they're being oppressed. And then they actually make the argument that Oprah Winfrey is more oppressed than a white homeless veteran begging for
Right.
change.
Yeah.
That's
and
their
well,
worldview.
she's oppressed by the diet industry because she has always felt so bad about her weight, and it's always been such a noose around the neck for her, like an albatross. That's the word I'm looking for. It's been an albatross.
I heard about this term called fat liberation, and it was someone arguing that being fat is just like any other disability, and if you exclude them from the ableism movement, then you're actually.
She was the Dove
irritated.
person, right? Didn't
What
she
are we
like?
talking about? Oh, I heard about this on a podcast, and I was sort of
Okay.
thinking like, no, I don't think that you are having the same problems as like people who live in major cities that cannot accommodate, that are dependent on subway transportation, like New York City, but there are very few elevator shafts where you can get your wheelchair down. Like, I don't think you're on their level of needing the society to pay attention to something that might make it you able to live there.
Right.
Yours is maybe somewhat self-inflicted, I would argue, but who knows?
You were saying something earlier too about about how people are kind of addicted to attention online. Do you think that's feeding into it as well, as far as the political stuff? Because like you said, if you say something about Trump, you're going to get more views. If you say something that is that this is oppressive when everybody knows it isn't, it's going to get more views, and it all kind of goes into the same tank. If you think about
Yeah.
it, it's going into the attention
The attention
tank.
tank. Well, also Trump broke everybody, right?
Yeah.
Remember, it was like the day after the election, and I was in like a Fairway Market, which is woker than Whole Foods in Brooklyn, and people were crying, and how the music plays at the grocery store. So Sweet Home Alabama was playing, and this older white lady walks up to a staff person who like had a hijab on or something and was like, "Don't you think this is in poor taste? Can we turn this off?"
Oh, are you kidding?
What?
I'm not kidding. That really happened.
This is Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Everything is offensive. I think it's funny because I read a story about how Ray Bradbury was giving like a college lecture or something, and they were talking about Fahrenheit 451 and the question of like, what is it about? And when he explained that it's about how when everyone is offended, the censors have to censor everything, the students argued with him saying, no, it's about government censorship. And he's like, what? No, it's about how there's a passage in it where it's like, if you insulted a cat, you offended cat owners, so you couldn't say that. And if you insulted dogs, dog owners got mad. And if you said anything about the trade unionists, the unions got mad, so you couldn't say that. So everything must be shut down because everyone's pissed off all the time.
Right.
That's where we're basically moving towards.
We're like at the crux of that and that Vonnegut story where the ballet dancer has to wear weights because it's not fair.
I feel like we've gone
Harrison
past
Bergeron.
that.
That's the one, yeah.
Is it Bergeron?
Yeah.
It's like you could be saving a puppy and somebody would have something bad to say about it.
Oh yeah. Yep.
How dare you?
That's the joke. Like Trump could run into a burning. If Trump ran into a burning building,
Like Cory Booker did in Newark, New Jersey.
and ran out, clothes singed, covered in soot, carrying 2 babies, and handed them to doctors, they would find a way to insult him and say Donald Trump risked the lives of those babies because he wanted to look like a hero. He should have left the firemen to do their job.
Right.
Instead,
That's what it would be. That's the
Yep.
that's the anti
Pedophile Donald Trump
we call that
gets 2 babies.
the austere scholar. That's what we refer to it as. Remember when Washington Post referred to what was the guy's the ISIS guy as an austere scholar?
What?
This guy who it wasn't Khalid. What was the guy's name?
It was hold on, I'll look it up.
Right. It's been so long.
Also, I'm
I
always
think I
afraid
know
to
the name, but
mispronounce
I don't
this
want to get it wrong. Baghdadi.
name. Baghdadi, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Washington Post criticized and lampooned over a Baghdadi headline. The, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. They said he was an austere religious scholar. Yes, he was also a murdering terrorist who kidnapped and raped women relentlessly. And they decided to call him an austere scholar because they didn't want to give Donald Trump any kind of win over his military campaign. It's amazing. They deny that Donald Trump crossed the DMZ into North Korea. I've mentioned this to so many people and they say that never happened. You're lying because they cannot accept Trump did good things.
Right. They find ways to say that the Abraham Accords were bad, even though that was like a really major peace agreement in a place where there's now war.
Do you think it makes people more emboldened to speak positively about Trump or other, conservative figures they admire, or does it make people withdraw? I grew up in a really blue state. I grew up in Connecticut, and I was always conservative. I've been this way for a long time, I guess. And it was something that you always teeter on the edge of, especially when you're young and in school and you're trying to navigate that and be like, I don't know if I'm trying to start conflict all the time, but also that was a very different culture than if the media is up against you all the time, all of your coworkers are against you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
do people withdraw from talking about it, or do they talk about it more?
I think it really depends on the person. I think some people will talk about it more, where other people will just be like, I'm going to keep that to myself, or maybe
Yeah.
stop having
I feel
opinions.
like people are almost like afraid.
Yeah.
to-
We were
especially
talking
people
about
like
that
my
before
age.
the show because
Yeah.
your song came out and you had people that you know from your hometown who were like, what were they saying? You were telling me that they were like offended that you released the song.
Some of like the worst things. It was just like, we shouldn't care what she thinks. Just like people that you wouldn't like suspect to say such things. Like, they can have their own opinion, but the second that I do, it's terrible. Like, I'm wrong. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing that happens. When you put yourself out there and you take a chance, you're always going to have people who are just instant detractors and saying that you shouldn't have a right to speak your mind or make the artwork that you want to make.
And if they disagree with you on one issue, everything about your character is bad.
Yeah, they
right?
judge your whole character based on one thing you believe in.
Yeah.
Like back then, like you were talking earlier, like it never used to be like that. Like a Democrat could be married to a Republican and they talk about it at dinner and it would be over with. But now it's like some people commenting on my song, it was just like, I completely don't like her character anymore just because of that. And they don't know
Right.
me.
Just because you wrote a
Yeah.
song defending the unborn.
Right. Me and Chris were talking about this before the show, but like it used to be you just wrote songs and released them, and that was called art. And like
Right.
now,
Yeah.
it's
I
different.
remember that. I missed that.
Yeah, art.
Now it's
we
politics.
were saying that it was when an artist actually would put out a song that just reflected who they were as a person and who they were as an artist. That was just called an artist.
Right. You didn't.
And now, God forbid you do that.
Well, now you have to be an activist artist. You have
Right.
to. You have to. You know, you have to create propaganda. Otherwise, no one.
And you can't like
and
art
that's the
made
worst
by
stuff.
and you can't make art made by anyone who represents the wrong thing, right?
Right.
You can't distance yourself from being like, well, I like this song, but they vote differently. Like you have to
Right.
comply on every level, and everyone you know has to be in the exact
Well,
same
if you're a
level.
progressive, and so that's
Yeah,
sort of the
that's so
interesting
true.
thing, and that's why I think you have conservatives, and the conservative sort of movement isn't a machine. What you're talking about, Hannah Claire, is basically a machine. Everybody's in lockstep. Everyone's going to go along with the exact same perspective. You're going to shun anyone who disagrees with you, even on the most minute and small thing. And conservatives are just like, oh, I like Taylor Swift, and I like, you know,
Right.
Debussy, and I like whatever else, and I like modern art, and I like Renaissance art, and you know, I like fashion by this company, and I also will shop over here. And so conservatives don't use their sort of power in the same way. And we did see in the past couple of years conservatives like changing that around, and Target felt the brunt of that, Disney felt the brunt of that, and of course Bud Light, you know, felt the brunt of that. And now you're seeing with some of the polling, you know, Democrats are feeling some of that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think as conservatives, you know, we're more of the, you know, let me do you, and you know, let me do me, and you do you, and let's go on with it, you know. But I think on the other side, sometimes, like just for instance, I was doing this show. It's been a few years ago. And I was waiting in the back of the show, you know, in the green room, and there was other people who worked there. I'm not going to say where it was, but
You say where it was.
but there was this people getting married, and there was at this booth, and I was just tuning up, and it wasn't my show. I was actually asked to be on the show, so it wasn't my thing. Anyway, so this girl was being married. She goes, "Didn't you get a something online to be a preacher?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I just wanted to do it," and he said it really like screamed it. "I just wanted to do it to piss off the Christian effing Republicans," you know. And it was like a room full of 8 people. He didn't know any of us. And my dad just passed away, and let me tell you, he almost met a redneck.
Would you have said
That
something
day.
to him? Like if you weren't like, would you have said something to him?
It was all I could do, and I sit there and said, "This is not my show. This is not, you know, I don't want to mess this up for my buddy who wanted me on." So we did the show, and after the show, I went looking for the guy just to tell him, you know, where that went for me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find him, but I told the manager, I was like, man, I told him what happened. I said, I would never do that. I would never do that in a crowd like that with my friends. Yeah, whatever. But he had no idea that how deep that went with me.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe, and we'll see you all there.